Welcome to the National Football Show. Your boy Dan Sileo. I start the show off with a smile. I just got called a cheesecake. No, I like cheesecake. I like cheesecake. Doesn't really sit well with me any longer because I'm getting older and Cocoa Pebbles and certain things no longer go as well with Big Sil. So hopefully everyone's having a spectacular day. We're rolling towards football. Let me see here. We are officially 7 days away from the start of the National Football League season when the Dallas Cowboys will show up to training camp and begin getting ready for the upcoming Hall of Fame game. We're here, man. You're hearing a lot of news going around the NFL. People are putting their rosters together. They're putting their depth charts down on paper. People know where they stand. It's funny. Every single media dude takes this week off. And you know what they do? They take their vacation because you know why? They can't come up with decent content. So you know what they do? They give it usually to the hacks who are the known fill-in dudes. And what they do is they let you fill in because all the main dudes, they take their respite because they got to get ready for football season. Football season, sports broadcasting, hello. Okay, it's a layup. So much content. We were talking prior to coming on the air. This 2021 NFL season is going to be as dope as it can be. I even think the college football season is going to be spectacular. You're going to have everybody playing. You're going to have all the fans in the stands, and it's going to be a great season, so we can't wait. By the way, baseball all-star game tonight. So Shohei Ohtani is going to be the starting pitcher, and he's going against Matt Scherzer of the Washington Nationals. Oh, and by the way, he's leading off for the American League. And this guy has just captivated America. It's just spectacular what he has brought to Major League Baseball. And he's an injection that they need. How about this? Shohei Ohtani is the PED that actually Major League Baseball needs to be able to go, this is what we need more of. We need to have more international players. Look at what's going on in the NBA. Take a look. Didn't the MVP in Utah just land that award? Top defender in the NBA is also a European player. The best young player in the NBA plays in Dallas. I mean, is there any coincidence that Team USA has lost back-to-back games? I'll talk about great Popovich, too. Holy cows, that guy passes time. That's old guy sitting on his front porch going, get off my lawn. Hey! Read the billboard. Know who I am. Yeah, dude. Your Spurs haven't been relevant in 4 years. You didn't evolve. So we'll get into that. There's so much to get into. By the way, today, we will have at the bottom of the hour. Now, I traditionally don't do this unless you're a Hall of Famer. And so we're going to start talking to some of the Hall of Famers that ended up getting one of those gold jackets, and we have two of them today. Bottom of the hour, I believe he's the second place kicker to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Morton Anderson will join us. He joined Jan Stenerud a few years ago. What was it like getting that knock on the door from David Baker, the president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame? And from the fearsome foursome, the sixth all-time leading sack man in NFL history. He is in the college and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jack Youngblood will join us. He played in a Super Bowl with a broken leg against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk to him what that moment was like, him going into those hallowed halls known as the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He'll join us at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. All right. So I saw a story prior to coming on the air here. And you always love these guys with these anonymous sources. So I don't even know who Michael Robinson is at the U.S. Or wait a minute. No, it's the NFL Network. It's not USA Today. He's like some ex-nobody that's on that nobody network that nobody watches, the NFL Network. You know the only thing that the NFL Network brings? Exclusivity to the network, because most of the guys that are on that network, they stink out loud. Just terrible. And so this dude, his name is, I got to make it right, Michael Robinson, unnamed sources. He went on the air and said, I hate people who do that, because then you're kind of like CNN. You know, unnamed sources said that the Steele dossier, had these really, horrible things to say about President Trump. And you're like, okay, why don't you just put your name on it, man? More people have respect for people who put their name on their own work. I could do that too. Watch this. Anonymous sources told me that Aaron Rodgers is really thinking about not playing this year and potentially calling it a career. Duh. That's not really breaking news, dude. That's an opinion that you rolled into trying to make it into a news story that it's not. Remember what Adam Schefter did on draft night? Sources are saying that Aaron Rodgers is very upset with the Green Bay Packers and that he is demanding a trade. Comes out that he was never demanding a trade, and Adam Schefter had to backtrack that comment when he went on the Dan Patrick Show. Basically, what he did was he created clicks for himself on draft night using a story that everyone already knew, that there was problems going on in Green Bay between Mark Murphy, the president of the Packers, and Aaron Rodgers. Everyone knew it. But he tried to make a story into something that was already obvious. Those aren't stories, friends. Those are people trying to get in and make an in with their network or their company by using BS. I got to make sure I get the name right because I've never heard of him. Michael Robinson has come out and said that unnamed Eagle dudes are not happy with Nick Sirianni, the new head coach of the Eagles. Yet Lance Johnson has put his name on it saying, I love, and I'm paraphrasing here, I love how the coach is taking command. I love how everybody in the building respects the guy and what he's doing, because the accountability factor is something that we haven't had. And it really seems that he's got his, hand on the pulse of the team, unlike maybe it got away from Doug Peterson. Again, like I said, I'm paraphrasing here. Now, who are you going to believe? Michael Robinson, some dude that's on the NFL Network and like the 80th guy on the totem pole who's trying to make a name for himself with unnamed sources? Or are you going to – who's he talking to? Alshon Jeffries, who's not on that team anymore? That cancer that used to hide in corners? And they call his boys in the media? These guys here, man. Nicky Foles, I love him. Go, Nick. I mean, really, right? This guy's got a hope chest with Nick Foles gear in it. Nicky's my guy. Shut up, dude. Play. They paid you. You played like crap there. You and that other snowflake wide receiver you had in the building for a while. Hey, Shawman Jackson. Like the toilet paper. That's who that guy was. Could never stay healthy. Guy was made out of paper mache. Could never stay healthy, okay? Ever. And those guys are, hey, baby, Nick's our guy. Carson's just a tool, That's great, man. Working with those dudes must have been a lot of fun. You imagine those guys. That's why Brady never worked with rear ends like that. Nobody talked to Brady like that. I'm not putting Carson Wentz in Tom Brady's league. But that guy worked at relationships too. I'm not absolving Carson Wentz from his behavior too. It's got to work together, man. Only way you're going to win. So Lance Johnson saying that Nick Sirianni's really doing a great job. Who are you going to give the benefit of the doubt to? Mike Robinson? Oh, Mark. Is it Michael or Mac? Something. Somebody at the NFL Network. Unnamed sources. Okay. Well, already when that comes out, I don't believe you. Because most people who have unnamed sources work at CNN. So I don't believe it. I believe Lance Johnson, because Lance Johnson is a guy that has come off to me that speaks his mind. That's a team leader. That's been in that locker room, that gets it. Understands what's going on. What understands has to be done to get this team back on the road to success again. Michael Robinson. Well, everybody, unnamed sources and unnamed people in the Eagle organization. Who's that? Every single player. Let me tell you, when you have transition from one coach to another, do you actually believe that you sit around and complain about the coach out loud in a locker room or to media people when you have transition at the head coaching position? Do you know what players are doing right now? They're looking for life preservers, because people who had equity in those locker rooms don't have it with Nick Sirianni's new coaching staff. They don't have it in that building. They've got to reprove themselves all over again. And if that's what they're bitching at, that's what goes on with every single new head football coach that goes into a building. If there is bitching in the Eagle locker room, you know what it is? It's old veterans who've gotten fat, sitting back thinking that they have a hall pass because they won a Super Bowl and don't like the new direction of the Eagles. Well, guess what? There's a new dude in charge. And you've got to reprove yourself all over again. That's what they're bitching at, if there is bitching. According to Lance, there's not. So, what, do you think that you're on some sort of scholarship when you get an NFL job? It's not a 4-year ride, guy. You got to reprove yourself every week, or they'll find someone cheaper and just as good, or maybe even a tick not as good. This is about accountability. Guys getting soft. Still living off that Super Bowl. Dude, it's been a couple years. You know, we just posted something that Bruce Arians said on our program a few months back. And he dropped the S-bomb. Hey, last year's team won the Super Bowl. This team ain't done this team ain't done shih tzu. That's a dog, just in case you're keeping score. Don't want any snowflakes getting pissed at me. It's a dog. You don't care. He don't care what that team did last year. It's a new group, kind of. Or maybe more importantly, it's a new year. So give me a break, man. Unnamed sources are saying they don't like the way Nick. And you know why he did Philly and not Los Angeles with the Chargers? Why do you think Michael Robinson did Philadelphia and not Brandon Staley, the new coach in Los Angeles? Because he knows he's not going to get the clicks or the response out of Philly, especially after what you just watched with Ben Simmons and all the crap that's coming out of the city of brotherly love and how they're now today, you know, as we're sitting here in July, last month he was part of the future. I guess in July he's not now. They're fielding offers for Ben Simmons. That's why he did it. He did it because he know Philly guy's going to be going like this. Oh, see? You got rid of my boy and Doug Peterson. And see, there's now guys already howling in the locker room in Eagle Land that they hate this guy. See? That's not the truth. Because you don't know what the truth is. This is what I say about Sirianni and evaluation of him. Let him coach a game. Then you make an assessment. How the hell do you that's like telling me this. Well, Trevor Lawrence is going to be a spectacular NFL football player. How do you know that? Why? Because he was great at Clemson? How many guys have we seen come out of college where you went, man, that guy just laid a gigantic turd in the NFL. Holy cow. That guy bombed out loud. And you're stunned. Well, it applies to coaches too. You think that transition going from the college game to the NFL game is a seamless one? It's made better today because they're doing a lot of the things. And I'll tell you something else that I learned from Nick Sirianni just texting him. By the way, he and I text every week. And maybe I am coming to his defense here. But we text every week. You know what I love what he told me about Trevor Lawrence? He told me flat out, they're taking some of the things that Dabo Swinney did at Clemson, and they're implementing them into the Eagles' attack this season so that it's going to be a seamless transition for him. Or, excuse me, Trevor Lawrence, Urban Meyer. I'm talking Urban Meyer talking to Dabo Swinney about Trevor Lawrence. He's going to have a seamless transition into the Jaguar offense because they're doing some of the things they did at Clemson. So, I mean, that's how you make things work. But talking with our boy Sirianni all week, you know what he said? We're going to do some of the things with having a conversation with Lincoln Riley and with Nick Saban. We're going to do some of the things he did in college in our offense here in Philadelphia. I talked to all these coaches. I talked to all these players. You know, I text them back and forth. What are you doing, man? What are you guys working on? Sirianni's like this. Well, I really love Lincoln Riley, man, how they had that read option. And we may try to do some of that here with Jalen Hurts. I was like, that's great. I go, you know, Meyer's doing the same stuff with Dabo and Trevor Lawrence at Clemson. I was like, great. Great. That's how you have a seamless transition. Then you hear guys like Michael Robinson, who I've never heard of. I think he's a Penn State guy, Cal. My boy behind the scenes. Yeah, I think he's a Penn State dude. Guess so. I don't know. Yeah, unnamed sources. Whatever, dude. Okay, I'll believe Lance Johnson. I believe Lance telling me, hey, he's really got a nice hand on the team here, and I think he's really going to do a great job. I'm paraphrasing that, but I'd believe Lance before I believe some network dude who's trying to get his stamp in that network. So let's move on from that because, again, it doesn't make sense. All right, so if you watched any of last night's home run derby, it wasn't so much that you were watching Shohei Ohtani perform. I kind of thought he bombed a little bit, but it wasn't really the story. The story was started earlier in the day by Stephen A. Smith. And as he got off First Take, by the way, this is what I don't like about today's sports media. Watch this. If you are a liberal and you say something racist, and how about this? It lands as a racist comment. You could debate whether or not there's validity to what Stephen A. said. It didn't land there. It landed on the racist line, and people on the internet assassins, and people in the sports media, and everybody came down on that side. So much so that Stephen A. Smith, I think, had 4 apologies or 3 apologies or something yesterday. And he's apologizing all out loud. You know why? Because Disney did come down on his ass. I don't care what that stupid thing he did today on First Take was. At 12 million reasons. It's what he makes a year. So inside that apology on First Take, you know what they did? ESPN, the network, used that racist comment that he made yesterday, and they used it as a promo so everyone would tune in the next day. I'll say it because I can say it. If that were a white broadcaster, he'd be fired immediately on the spot. But because he is a minority broadcaster, and because he works at ESPN, which is the sports version of CNN, you get to do that, and you get an apology. Conservatives who are on the air, like what's his name? Clay, he's not going to get that. He's not going to get that equity because people are going to try to fire him immediately because he's a conservative. And he's not going to get it. So Stephen A. and ESPN used that yesterday as a promo for the First Take the next morning. Then, of course, you have everybody on the set. Oh, you're just really. And, of course, he threw in, I'm black. He blamed Donald Trump. He pretty much aimed his problems at every other person but him. And, of course, he threw in there, well, I'm accountable. But, dude, most people don't get a second chance. Now, look, I'll give you an example. Have you ever seen some of the stuff that Joe Biden has said? Have you ever seen some of the stuff that Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon? Have you ever seen the stuff that Howard Stern has done with all these black faces? We got politicians that have done that. These guys get equity, man, for whatever reason in the media, and those guys get a free hall pass. You say anything. I made a disparaging comment in 2012, and it was off the chain. I said something that was a phrase that was not cool, and I used poor words or a poor phrase. Somebody called me a racist on it. I said, no, I made a mistake. No, you didn't make a mistake. You're a racist. And I'm like, no, I made a mistake. No, I don't get that. Okay? I don't get that. I don't get that issue. Okay? But if you're Stephen A., this thing will be moved on and used as a promo. Hell, guess what? Stephen A. Smith will probably end up winning an ESPY for this next year. It's ridiculous, man. It really is. And you just see how this whole thing plays out, and you know exactly. how this is going to play out. So that was the story last night. I can't wait to watch Ohtani. Okay, I really can't wait to watch Ohtani tonight. I'll tell you this too. One thing is for sure about this guy. He's got to get out of Los Angeles. He's got to get out of the Angels. One thing that Tom Brady and LeBron James have done, if I could make a comment about those two guys, they've made it cool to be mobile and a mobile athlete today. If your organization is not putting enough talent around you, LeBron James was really the first guy when he made the decision. LeBron went like this in Cleveland the first time. You guys aren't putting enough good players around me. I'm out of here. I'm going to Miami. What did he do? He won a couple championships in Miami with Pat Riley. Went back. They put better talent around him. But then it became more about his brand. Cleveland wasn't going to do anything for LeBron James's brand. Him being a Laker. Remember something. LeBron James didn't go to the Lakers. LeBron James went to Los Angeles for his brand. He's never going to win an NBA championship again. Hey, God bless the bubble. Because with that dude that's always hurt and Anthony Davis, they'll never win another championship again. And look at what they gave away to New Orleans to get Anthony Davis in the building. You think they got any kind of equity to keep building that team? Not in your life. I mean, that team is done with those two guys on it. Never win again, but doesn't matter. LeBron went to Los Angeles for his brand and for his life after basketball. Tom Brady went to Tampa to win Super Bowls. That's the difference between the two. Brady went to Tampa. You don't think Brady could have went to Los Angeles and played for the Chargers? He didn't want to play for Anthony Lynn. He wanted to play for Bruce Arians. He wanted to play for Jason Light. Those guys were going to put a team around him. Those guys were going to try to win. Brady's about winning. LeBron's about his brand now. Same thing. Hey, by the way, I'll make another comparison on an athlete. Conor McGregor. You think Conor McGregor really wants to get back in the ring and put the work in to really win another UFC championship belt? Or do you think it's really more about his brand? When you put Conor McGregor in the octagon today, you put him in the octagon because he's a brand. He's not a fighter anymore. He's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. He's not going to win against the elite dudes. Khabib would destroy that guy again. Not going to fight a guy. I know he's retired. You're not going to fight a guy like that. All right, let's switch gears. One of the very few guys, and when he retired from the game, he was the all-time leading scorer in NFL history. That's been passed recently by Adam Vinatieri. We're going to get the second special teams guy in the history of the league to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Jan Stenerud and Morton Anderson. He's next, right here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on three. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome back to the National Football Show, Dan Sileo. Did I say Lance Johnson? Ugh. Lane, Jesus Christ, CTE kicking in. Hey, that's what I'm going to start doing. Oh, my God, on my settlement, I'm just going to start flubbing names up. Yeah, Bob Bradshaw. You mean Terry? No. Bob. Oh, my God. Oh, good. We're going to talk to our friend Morton Anderson here in a second, get his thoughts on what it was like to get that knock on the door from David Baker, the president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll do that here in a second. You know, I was thinking about something else. And do me a favor, when you're watching baseball's All-Star Game tonight, if you do tune it in, baseball in its ways is so stuck in the mud. You know, that team is really great on defense. You think the NFL cares about defense? They actually hate defense. Watch this. You know, I tune in to watch the Rams because of Aaron Donald. Kind of. I tune in to watch the Bears because of Khalil Mack. You know, those defensive guys. You know, I love those 14-10 games. The NFL cringes when they hear that. 14-10, they don't want to see those games. They want 35-31 games, man. Fantasy football, prop bets, red zone channel. Why do you think they changed all the rules and they always favor the offense and they never favor the defense, like ever? Because the NFL doesn't care about defense any longer. Defense wins championships? Kind of. Yeah, but they're going to say, Sills. The Buccaneers won the Super Bowl because they played lights-out defense. Oh, so wait a minute. You don't think that same defensive unit that was there the previous year, Brady showing up, you don't think they were pretty good then too? When they had crab legs playing quarterback, Jameis Winston? Well, it was Brady showing up to change the dynamic of that team. Offense. The Bucs were good on defense even in that 7-9 year prior to the Super Bowl. The NFL doesn't care about defense. Look at the rule changes every year. They want scoring. All right. Speaking of scoring, I love getting our next friend on here, and he has the distinction of going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I believe he's the second special teams man to go into the Hall of Fame next to Jan Stenerud. He is our friend Morton Anderson, and he joins us now here on the National Football Show. Morton, I appreciate you jumping aboard with us. Thank you so much, my friend.
It's my pleasure. Let's not forget about Ray Guy.
Ray Guy, that's right. Oh, my God. The greatest, I say this to you, too, Morton, probably the greatest field position changer of all time. Would we not agree on what he brought to that Raiders organization?
Great athlete. He's the only punter that I'm aware of that hit the scoreboard that was hanging in the middle of the Superdome. Yeah. I mean, you know, Jerry Jones can talk all about Dallas and that big scoreboard, but the original gangster was Ray Guy when he launched a bullet into the stratosphere and actually hit that scoreboard. That was amazing.
I'm going to bring this up to you here. You know, the point differential in the National Football League is 3 points. And I've always said this. One of the secret sauces up in New England has always been that their special teams was always one of the better units because they were able to balance their salary cap, always had a great field goal kicker. More of an emphasis on that side of the ball than maybe when you played. Now, Morton, that it's important because the point differential, like I said, is so small in the game. If you don't have a great special teams and a great kicker, you're not going to win these games. You could attribute 3 Super Bowls probably winning-wise to Tom Brady if it wasn't for Adam Vinatieri on that team. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I think we're the kicker is the Rodney Dangerfield of the world. I mean, we get no respect, 0 respect. And so what's it going to take? I mean, what's it going to take for the leading scorers on each team in the NFL to get any type of respect? It's going to take a change of thinking and a better understanding of the position. The old schoolers say, well, their uniforms are clean. They're not football players. I say we are part of the football game. We just happen to use our feet. It is called football, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So it's undeniable. The position is undeniable. And I think we're starting to see that slowly but surely. The league is slow to change, but the weapons that you have on these teams now, the Justin Tuckers of the world, the Praters that can bomb it, you're going to see a 70-yard field goal soon. It's going to happen. When were we ever talking about that and saying we're going to see a 70-yard field goal? But it's going to happen.
Do you think we're seeing better athletes at the position?
Oh, yeah, and the training methods, and they start earlier. They have better equipment. They have better just – everything is just better, and there's much more. The athletes are – that's all they're doing now. It used to be, you know, you had a foreign guy from an Eastern European country who barely spoke the language, who was really good at soccer, and then let's make the translation. Let's make him the kicker, right? That was a foregone conclusion. Now it's American-born guys that have figured it out, that have come and stood on the shoulders of the Jan Stenerudts and the Pete Gogelaks of this world, and thank God for those guys. So they were revolutionary. They were pioneers in the sport. So the game has changed. Would you ever have thought that, you know, a quarterback throwing for 300 yards back 20 years ago was a rarity? And now you're seeing astronomical numbers. It's a passing league. So the game is changing, and the same with the kicking position.
I would ask you this too. Now and I'm going to go off the board here a little bit just to get your perspective on this. And now with gambling being part of the NFL and really all sports, you would have to say that when it comes to scoring, the 2 most important people on your football team moving forward when it comes to visibility are going to be the quarterback and the place kicker now, because I just got through mentioning once again, and I'll reiterate it, 3 points is pretty much the point differential in these games. Do you agree, Morton, that because of that new dynamic, that's also going to put more visibility on the position?
I think that's always been the case. Now it's just legal to gamble on football. I mean, that's the difference. So now we can actually talk about it. Listen, I represent Better Collective and VegasInsider.com, so I'm fully aware on my podcast, Great Dane Nation. If you don't mind me getting a shameless plug in there, please come and check us out. So we talk about this all the time. But I think that one rule change that has made the biggest difference for the friendly bettors, if you will, the sports bettor, is the moving of the extra point from 20 yards to 33 yards. That has changed the dynamic of the game. Teams are going for 2 more often, you know, and risking, and especially in bad weather. I mean, you're wondering, I know it's a 33-yarder and you should make that, you know, 10 out of 10 times, but guys are not. So to me, that rule change has really made a difference.
Let me get into your journey and getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I have an uncle that's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Andy Robustelli, and every single guy that you listen to and their journeys, every guy that's in that room and in that hall with a bust has had a tremendous journey. Obviously, yours is different. As you mentioned, foreign player. Give us a little bit of where you started and what your journey was like to get that gold jacket and how you got to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer.
You know, not unlike a lot of these gold jackets around, my journey just it has to do with defining moments. It has to do with a little bit of luck and being in the right place at the right time. And I certainly was in 1977 when I came to this country as an exchange student, 17 years old. Had no inclination of playing football whatsoever, but there was a need on the football team to have a kicker. They were a really good football team, but the missing component was they needed a kicker. The starting quarterback was the kicker. They didn't want him to do that. And so they put 1 and 1 together, and it made sense, and it equaled 2 for them, and said, we got a foreign guy here, pretty good at kicking the soccer ball. Let's see if he's willing to make that transition. And I looked at it, I say, well, the ball's not around. I can't promise you anything, but as soon as that foot hit the ball, it was pretty sweet. And, you know, the rest is history. We had a great year, my high school year. And then, you know, things unfold that you can't really predict, and a difficult phone call back home to mom saying, I'm going to stay another 4 years. And here we are 46, 45 years later, and history's been written the way it is. But it was because of a lot of help, you know, a lot of direction early on in defining moments where coaches, host family were telling me, you got a chance to be really special at this. And then going for it and getting on that train at the station and not standing there going, oh, man, the train left the station. I'm not on the train. That's important. I think when we're young, Dan, that youthful oblivion can get in the way, right? Because we don't know what we don't know. And therein lies the conundrum of youth. And so with age comes levity and wisdom and perspective. And we all, you know, I'm sure you do this once in a while. You'll sit down and say, wow, I wish I knew 20 years ago what I know now. I wouldn't have made that mistake, or I would have made that decision. So what you hope for as a young guy is some direction and some guidance and some mentorship. And I was very, very fortunate that way. And, you know, that's really what kickstarted my career. And then I had a deep desire to be the very best. I'm a competitive guy by nature, a perfectionist. And, you know, anything's possible in this country, but it's the greatest, I still say the greatest country on earth, because you can come over here and not speak the language. You can learn it. And if you have a little bit of talent and a little bit of luck and some help, man, you can sure flourish and enjoy the American dream.
You know, I've asked players that have had to wait their time to get into the Hall of Fame. I mean, when did it start to cross your mind that you potentially thought of yourself as a candidate to get into that place? Because, I mean, so many people, Jerry Kramer waited decades to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We see now the Veterans Committee now putting guys like, you know, Tom Flores in. Guy wins 2 Super Bowls, and he waited decades to get in. I was just wondering, how long did it take for you to start to do this? You know, because I know Harry Carson had a problem with the process on how they looked at him. Just your thoughts on when you started to think, maybe I belong in that place.
Let me say, first of all, you can take Lynn Swann, 17 years until he got in. So there's lots of guys and lots of stories and frustration and shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But at the end of the day, I felt very privileged to be even mentioned among the greatest and be a finalist for, you know, a semifinalist my first year of eligibility, and then the next 4 to be a finalist and finally get in my 5th year. So having said that, there's a wait at the door, and there's only a ticket that can be punched for 5 to 7 guys every year. And it's difficult, and there are many deserving guys, football players, if you will, and there is, let's face it, there is, I revert back to my earlier statement, a stigma, a stereotype about specialists that we can only put so many guys in. And I would say I can give you three kickers I think deserve, and punters. I can give you some specialists that I think deserve inclusion into the Hall, but they're not in. And why are they not in? There's just a wait at the door. And, you know, when you compare a kicker, a punter, or a Steve Tasker, or a Devin Hester, or Mel Gray, or one of these great returners that we've seen through the years, to an every down player, the committee a lot of times will go with the every down player. So that's just the way. So I don't even know if I answered your question, but there was some frustration initially, but I felt very, very lucky to be even in the conversation. And if you keep making that final table, sooner or later you're going to get a good hand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that, one of the guys you mentioned was a guy that's near and dear to my heart, is because he played at the University of Miami, my alma mater, and that's Devin Hester. I mean, return guys like Billy White Shoes Johnson, guys,
another guy,
Staples. Those guys should be in because, contributors to the game also has to be a factor along with contributions to your team. Don't you think?
I think when you talk about Pro Football Hall of Famers, and I got this quote from Joe Horrigan, who was part of, has been part of the Pro Football Hall of Fame for many, many years. He said, "Can you write the story of the NFL without mentioning this guy? In other words, did this guy change the way we looked at the game? Was he a dominating player at his position historically? When you compare him to other players, same position, different eras, but can you write the story with or without him? And if you say I got to have him in there, then that's that answer. Then he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. You can't write the history of the NFL without great players, and those great players should be in the Hall.
Absolutely, and I think of Mark Mosley. If I'm not mistaken, MVP of the league, right?
Was the only in 1982? We only played 9 games. It was a strike-shortened season, and I think he won 7 out of the 9 games that the football team, the Washington football team, almost caught me there, Dan. He won 7 of them. Had he missed a kick there along the way, a game winner, they would not have made the playoffs. So yeah, Mark Mosley, the only specialist ever and kicker to win MVP of the league.
When you got that knock on the door, I asked Ed Reed. Ed was like, when the knock came, there were so many thoughts that were running through his mind when he opened the door and he saw David Baker there, the president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yeah. He knew right then and there that the cherry had been put on top of the career when he saw David standing there and he gives you the speech about the contributions to the game. Yeah. What was that like for you, Morton, when David knocked on that door and you opened it and there he was?
It was overwhelming and it was humbling, and I cried. And he had this big purple velvet jacket on, and it was great because it absorbed the tears. So I used it as a napkin, basically. It's a Kleenex. I'm not sure he was happy about that. It worked really well. But, to put it in perspective, the year before, several years before, in that hotel room, I had gotten the phone call. And it said, "We regret to inform you that, you didn't make it." And then,
so you get a phone call if you don't make it.
It's a phone. You're sequestered for about 2.5, 3 hours. And then the phone call, you don't want the phone call.
No, you don't want the phone call.
You want the knock on the door. Well, unbeknownst to me in San Francisco, this was the year, I believe, before Houston when I was inducted. But unbeknownst to me, my beautiful bride had ordered room service. And I'm walking like a lion now, and it's 4:30, and we're in the window where you're going to get a knock on the door or you're going to get a phone call. Well, there's a knock on the door, and my hands go flying up. I'm fired up, and I run to the door, and this poor guy delivering this club sandwich, I'm telling you, Dan, it was ugly. It was ugly, man.
He probably looked at you and said, "Man, I'm sorry you're disappointed that you got a ham sandwich."
I said, "Honey, don't ever in this window. We're not taking any call. The only thing I want to hear is a knock on the door. This big, powerful, booming knock on the door from Dave Baker. No club sandwiches, please." So
no doubt about it.
She promised me the next year, and thank God it happened for real. So.
What, being a Hall of Famer, has it changed you?
You tell me. I don't think so.
No, I don't. No, I think you're the same dude that was on the Saints when I was playing against you back in the day. I
don't think so. I mean, it's opened some different doors for me, but I've always been a pretty friendly guy, I think. And, I realize where I come from. I understand the journey. I lived the journey, and I'll tell you what inspires me a lot is, just with my friends and fellow Hall of Famers and their stories. And we've had almost 30 guys, 30 gold jackets on my show, Great Dane Nation. So and their stories are as unique as they are, but one of the things they have in common is they've always and also gone through great adversity, but they've handled it with stubbornness and with grit and just determination. And I just think that everybody is so appreciative of the process. They're appreciative. They take that gold jacket very, very seriously. It's an exclusive, unbelievable brotherhood, and we're about to go up there in 3 weeks, and there's going to be over 100 guys, I'm sure, and it's just a great reunion. But no one takes that thing for granted, and they understand how difficult it is and how blessed, how lucky we are.
Morton, give me your assessment on Adam Vinatieri. He's going to be a first ballot, in my opinion. I think if there's going to be a first ballot guy going, I thought
I was going to be a first ballot too, but you never know. He's got credentials. Yeah, he does. He's got longevity. He's got the records, and he's got the big kicks, and he certainly belongs in the Hall of Fame. Is he a first ballot? Again, that's gonna who's eligible that year. We'll see. Yeah. But if there ever was a guy, a specialist, where you would say he should go in the first year, it would be Adam. But I thought I had a shot the first year too. At that time, I was the leading scorer in the history of the game. I played more games than anybody, which I still have, by the way, more field goals and all those things. And sometimes they just don't add up. But Adam has a resume, and he certainly belongs.
How has the game, two last questions for you here, Morton. How has the game changed from your time to today when you see place kicking and specialists today?
It's just much more specialized and much more advanced as far as the training methods and the way that guys prepare year round, the shape that these guys are in. I mean, I was never known as a flat belly, if you know what I mean. I like to play heavy, I liked a little ballast. So I wasn't going to be the Adonis-like guy. These guys are really in good shape. Now, that's not to say we weren't in good shape. I just don't think year round we went at it the same way guys are doing it now. And the money is so much bigger too. I'll give you an example. 1985, 7, right around there, I became the first $1 million kicker, and you got guys now making $5 million a year, right? So that has changed tremendously, and with that is a great responsibility. Not that we didn't have that before, but a great responsibility to be ready to roll and to be an athlete year round. But back then in the early 80s, guys had second jobs. They in the off season they'd go and sell life insurance or cars and do other things, and because they had to, because you had guys signing first round picks for $20,000. I mean, it was not a lot of money back then. So that has changed the game for sure.
All your stops. What was your favorite stop finally here that you had where you really embrace? I always here, and I'll tell you how I see you. I see you as a saint.
Yeah, I am
because I played against you when you were a Saint, but that's how I see you. How do you identify yourself when you say you had your best stop? Where was it?
Well, it was New Orleans. It was my formative years. That's where I learned to become a professional. That's where the biggest changes, took place for me as a player. And it set me up, even though the departing was very painful in 95, it set me up to play for another 12 years when I was deemed done, when the club, misleadingly said I was finished, I continued for another 12 years as a declining player. So something went pretty good, but I certainly, I do see myself as a New Orleans Saint, but I'm appreciative and thankful for all my stops and all the teams that were willing to have me.
Do me a favor, throw out that podcast again and where people can find it. And
we're everywhere, man. We're at so it's Great Dane Nation. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your favorite podcast. You can pull us down, Great Dane Nation, and we look forward to. We have 44 episodes out there right now, and like I said, almost 30 Hall of Famers, and we got some really big guests. We start back up August 4th on season 2, and it's presented by VegasInsider.com. We're having a lot of fun over there.
Absolutely. Always awesome to catch up with you, Morton. Thank you so much for finding time. Have a great trip to Canton, Ohio in a couple weeks. Thank you so much, Morton.
Thanks, Dan. We'll see you, buddy.
You got it. That is Morton Anderson, Pro Football Hall of Famer. And love the journeys. We got another guy coming around the corner, too. I'll tell you who that is next. We'll take a brief time out here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome back to the National Football Show. Your boy Dan Sileo. I'm still pissed that I said Lance Johnson instead of Lane. Oh, too many hits to the head. Anyway, top of the hour. One of the greatest NFL players in the history of the sport. One of the greatest sack artists ever. Jack Youngblood will join us. 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year will join us. And he played on one of the greatest defensive lines of all time, the Fearsome Foursome. So we will talk with him. That'll be here in a couple minutes. I want to bring something else to you. Shaq Barrett, the linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, said something interesting today. And I love what he said. And I'm becoming more of a believer that the Patriot way was actually the Brady way. You know, everyone's always like, this is how the Patriots do business. Is it? How come New England doesn't look like New England any longer, and Tampa Bay looks like the Brady dynasty in New England? Let me give you another for instance here. As I mentioned, Shaq Barrett made a comment. He said, going out and trying to find more money in the open market wasn't worth me leaving Tampa Bay. Wait a minute. Tampa Bay hadn't been to the playoffs in 12 years prior to Brady showing up. What was the evolutionary change in the organization inside of 12 months that made players who could have commanded top dollar? You don't think Shaq Barrett, who's one of the most integral parts of that Todd Bowles defense in Tampa, couldn't have commanded enormous signing bonus money somewhere else? Maybe not as good a team, or maybe not as good an opportunity to win a Lombardi trophy? Why would you take less money? Now you've got Stephon Gilmore holding out in New England, former Defensive Player of the Year in 2019. When was the last time you remember a New England Patriot player holding out? That's funny. Stephon Gilmore looks like, to me, he's the first guy that I can remember. Oh, no, I'll give you another guy. Remember Richard Seymour? What did the Patriots do? They shipped his ass to Oakland. He still had Pro Bowl years left in him, too. Shaq Barrett said, it just wasn't worth me going somewhere else to look for a couple more $1 million to leave Tampa. It wasn't worth it. Brady has made it so that a destination for free agents and people who want to win is now in Tampa, not New England. You're not going to see people lining up to go play in New England like you did in years past, knowing you're going to have an opportunity at winning a Lombardi trophy. How do you think Jason Licht, the general manager, and Bruce Arians got all 22 plus AB to come back and take another shot at the Holy Grail? Think about that, for instance. You got players other than Brady that are doing this. I'm going to stay here. Grass ain't greener on the other side. It's not greener. So we're going to tee it up here, and let me play my football here in Tampa, and let's go see if we can win another championship here with Tom. Hey, and the way that Buccaneer team is being assembled, people keep saying that Tom Brady, maybe this year or next year will be it for him. I don't know. You can keep that guy upright, and you keep adding talent, and you keep seeing free agents wanting to play in Tampa Bay. I'll tell you what, man. There's nothing that guy is not capable of pulling off. I am a firm believer that Tom Brady, as long as that fire and that pilot light is still on, it's going to take a lot to dim that light. Okay? It's going to. All right. Let's take a brief time out. We're going to catch up with our friend, Jack Youngblood. We'll do it next. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fought. What's that? Huck and Fought. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on 3, 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome back to the National Football Show. Your boy Dan Sileo. Hour number 2 here. We're efforting our friend, Jack Youngblood, one of the great defensive linemen in the history of the National Football League. We are just a few weeks away from the Hall of Fame game, and I think it's going to be an outstanding ceremony with the two combined classes that didn't get a chance to speak a year ago because of the pandemic. So you're going to have the 20 and 21 class together, and they're going to be sitting there. It's going to be a long day. Maybe they're going to limit the time that these guys will have on giving their speeches, but those speeches are always spectacular to listen to. And, you know, the journeys that all these guys go on. I just love the stories that all these players have gone on. You just heard Morton Anderson talking about being a foreign exchange student that came to America. He was a soccer player. He didn't know that he was going to have an opportunity to ever reach the goals that he ever would reach and ever thought about reaching. He thought he was just going to be a soccer guy. And he turns out to be the all-time leading scorer and played in most games in the history of the National Football League. Think about that for a minute. And he owns one of those records still, the most games ever played. You imagine that? And you end up putting on one of those gold jackets, which to me, it just is what every single football player strives for, to win a Super Bowl championship and to be recognized as one of the greatest players in the history of the sport. So we're so looking forward to the Hall of Fame festivities this year and seeing how David Baker and his group are going to just lay those things out. So we're hoping we're going to be able to catch up with our friend Jack Youngblood, who's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I saw a story, and it's kind of funny when you see players that are trying to do a catch-up job on their careers. So today, Ben Roethlisberger was talking about his preparation for the upcoming 2021 season. And he said, hey, on a diet, I've lost some weight. I'm getting myself ready for the upcoming season. He's 37. This is the first time that Ben Roethlisberger has done self-maintenance, really, on preparing himself for an upcoming season. Every single football player, we were talking to Morten in the last hour. Every football guy does this. You have regrets. I mean, look at Carmelo Anthony, for instance. Carmelo Anthony is a guy who didn't take care of his body. He came out in the same draft as LeBron James. One player in LeBron that took care of his body, spent $1 million a year in the preparation. Tom Brady as well. getting themselves ready for each and every single upcoming season, they spent money on their most important asset. You know what that was? Preparing their bodies and their minds for an upcoming season, which meant that those guys kept their heads down the entire time. And they were doing everything in their power to make sure the most important thing, actually two, availability and longevity. And that's why you look at LeBron. LeBron James and Tom Brady are two of the greatest longevity athletes we've ever seen. Now, I know LeBron's been banged up 2 of the last 3 years, but would we not agree? LeBron's been a superstar since he was 17. And he's been in the NBA all these years now. What is it, 18 seasons now he's been in the NBA? And he's put these phenomenal numbers up every year. Every year he's a 26 to 28 point guy. He's going to get you around 7 to 8 boards, 6 assists. That's who he's been his entire career. And as you know, I'm not much of a LeBron guy, but when you see those numbers being put up over 18 years, do we not agree? You're talking longevity and availability. LeBron James has been that guy. And Brady just knocks the cover off all that conversation. I mean, he's always prepared. And so when you see a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, and you see Ben at 37 now going, yeah, I've lost some weight here, and I'm really getting myself ready for the upcoming 2021 season. You're like this, dude. Hey, day late and a dollar short, man. You needed to do this when you came out of college. You needed to keep preparing yourself so that when the gas can maybe not is filled with fuel and you're at the back 9 of your career, you give yourself an opportunity to succeed. And Ben's doing it. Well, we'll see what happens in 2021. All right. One of my absolutely favorite people that has ever played in the National Football League is our friend Jack Youngblood. And Jack joins us right now here on the National Football Show. Jack, how you doing, brother?
Better than I deserve, Dan. That's for sure.
Jack, I got some news for you.
What's that?
It's about your career.
Uh-oh.
No, I think you're going to dig this.
You can't. There's some things you shouldn't talk about.
This one, we're going to. Watch this. So the NFL came out today with all the unofficial sack numbers of all the players pre-1982, and they put their sacks on a list, and they've got an unofficial list, and they're trying to verify it. And they verified you right now as the 6th all-time leading sack guy in the history of the league at 151.5 sacks. That puts you 6th. The third guy is Deacon Jones at 173.5. So, Jack, you're the 6th all-time leading sacker in NFL history. Did you know this?
Well, I did know it because I kept counting. I counted them too. And the funny part about this, they didn't count them before '82, but we got paid for them. They were a bonus. They were $100. I think back in those days it was $100 bonus or something. But yeah, and when they came out with that and they said they're not accountable, we all shook our head and went, something's wrong with this whole system.
And Jack, I was always under the guise of saying, why wouldn't you count all records? Why are you only counting like the offensive guys, like the wide receivers and the quarterbacks? You counted all their numbers pre-1982, but you didn't count the defensive guys' sacks. I mean, the sack is the most important thing for a defensive lineman right now, and you played on one of the greatest lines. Jack, years removed from that, and you're a fearsome, foursome guy. That must just be marvelous for you to be part of such an elite group when you have Merlin and Deacon and all those great players. Just reflect, if you can, a little bit by being part of that group.
Dan, that was it's one of the greatest blessings that our good Lord gave me, drafting me into that element. And I had no idea who the Los Angeles Rams were. And because we didn't have three ball games on the TV at that point in time. But yeah, he put me into the Los Angeles Rams. Now, who could teach you how to rush the passer and stop the run on the way to the passer than Deacon Jones and Merlin Olsen? And I was fortunate enough where Deke got hurt that first year. I started 7 or 8 ball games for him, and then they traded him the next year. And so my wingman was, my hero was Merlin Olsen, and I mean he taught me how to play the game, what it meant to play the game, what it took to play the game, and I was very, very fortunate to have those two entities when I was a rookie.
And I would even say this to you, Jack. I mean, your football teams that you had, your O-line and your D-line, were the stars of those Rams teams. I mean, would you not agree? I mean, if you played O-line like Dennis Harrow or any of them dudes, like Jackie Slater and them guys, it was always the defense and offensive lines that were really the dominant stars that played on those Rams teams that you played on.
Well, that was the fundamental of the NFL at that point in time. I mean, the offensive line and defensive line we kind of set the tone of how the ball game's going to go. If you can't stop them and you can't run on them, something's wrong. You're gonna have a hard time winning the ball game.
You're a Florida boy and you go out to Los Angeles. How much of a culture shock was that for you when you go from being an All-American Gator to going to Los Angeles and not only going to LA, but you're in the Coliseum playing there like these national football games on national television? I mean, Jack, that must have just been like going from the moon to the sun, going from college to pros. No, absolutely. It was further than that. It was it truly was country come to town. I was born and raised in a little town. We had 1,500 people in town. I had a football team that didn't have but 18 players on it, and then got the opportunity to go to Gainesville, and we never played beyond the Mississippi River. So I didn't have any. In the first time I flew out, I can remember. I'll tell you this story real quick. We were flying out and we were coming into the landing zone, and for some reason I thought about it. I said, I wonder what number what's my jersey number going to be? and I'm thinking about it, and it went away. The next day I walk into the locker room, and the first thing that I saw was, and my number at University of Florida was 74. And I walked in. The first thing I saw was on the lockers was number 74 hanging there, Olsen. I went, well, I don't think I'm going to get that one. That's out. Yeah, it was very interesting for a young man. I wasn't but 21 years old, and hadn't been very far, but had a tremendous 4 years at the University of Florida. What was the signature moment, you think, when you were a Ram? I mean, going to the Super Bowl, Jack, was that the ultimate achievement for you guys? Making it, I don't believe anybody really thought you guys were going to make it to that game against that Steeler team. You were injured in the game, and if anybody doesn't know the story, you played with a broken leg in that football game. Was that the crowning achievement, or was there another moment that always sticks out for you? One of the main moments, I go back to the rookie year. I didn't know I was going to make that football team because I had Deacon and Merlin in front of me. I mean, where am I going to fit into this thing here? That was a moment that I think about all the time. And then finally, after so many years of being right there on the edge of getting over the
the championship game, and going to the Super Bowl. That was a huge event of my season, or of my career. We were so close so many times, and we're a better football team most of those times. I mean, there was 5 or 6 years there with Ray and Chuck, and then well, we didn't go so far with with a couple of the other ones. Weren't quite that well, but those were the phenomenal years for me.
I would say this to you, Jack. I mean, there's certain purple people eaters, Doomsday, and all those great names, the New York Sack Exchange and stuff, Fearsome Foursome. I mean, that's got to be something, and that has to mean something to you too, because it put a spotlight on all you guys each and every single Sunday. I mean, you just weren't like a normal group rolling out there. You were the stars of the team, added pressure, and I just wonder how you reflect back again. And I know you broached it a little bit, but you're always going to be identified with being part of that group.
Right. And that in itself, from my perspective, my personal perspective, that's worth it. But all we went through to be a part of that. And, when people depend on you to be the star of your group, to be the star of the ball game, and it's on your back, do we win or lose? That's a huge time in your game. That is, responsibility is on you to win this ball game.
Jack, take me through the process, because now you see how the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame does it. They give the knock on the door, or you get a phone call if you didn't make it. We just had Morton Anderson on, and he was going through his trials and tribulations as he waited the process out. What was the process like for you when you were going through in whether or not you were going to be a Hall of Famer? Did it take long for you to get in? I don't really know what your process was. And how did they do it when they were putting guys like yourself from that era into the Hall of Fame? What was the process?
The process was basically the same. The day before, the weekend before the first ball game, they would have the meeting and have the vote. And I can't remember the PR guy's name. Though we were staying in a hotel across the street from the Coliseum in Tampa, and he came to me and said, "All right, you're on the 13th floor or 14th floor, whatever." And he said, you may have the opportunity. And this was 8 years into it. I'd been through this process too many times. And I turned and looked at him and I said, "If I don't win, if you don't get me in, I'm jumping."
Fabulous. Jack, what were you feeling when it did come and the knock did come and they told you that you were a Pro Football Hall of Famer? Just take me back and reflect back a little bit on what that moment meant for you.
Well, it's a tremendous feeling that you've been nominated and you're elected into the Hall of Fame. I mean, it brings back a rush of the memories of playing the game and the guys who were part of your team and were your teammates and were your sixes, and you had the relationships there. That was a big part for me. I go back to Merlin and Deacon. They're Tommy Prothero had us at lunch one day in our second year, and bro throw. He's
smoking on them cigarettes.
Smoking that Pall Mall, and he tapped on his glass, and we all quieted down, and he didn't say anything about what we're supposed to be doing, that evening, and like he normally did, tell us where we're going and what we're doing, what we're looking at, and what we're to be expect. He just starts out with Youngblood with that South Carolina accent. Youngblood, Tom Landry hates you. Now I'm sitting between Merlin and Jack Snow, and both of those guys, great individuals, great players, of course, with Merlin, and and both of them said, "Don't worry about it, kid. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about."
Oh my God, Jack! 2 questions for you here. This kid Aaron Donald, watching him with the Rams. Give me your thoughts on him and what you see with him each and every single Sunday when he puts on that Rams uniform.
He can play on my team anytime he wants to. he can play any place he wants to play on my team. He reminds me of Larry Brooks. Larry had the same size, same strength, same quickness, and they were very intelligent about how they played. They had to play over 3 different people most of the time, and usually there was 2 guys trying to block them, and he couldn't do it with 2. So, he can play on my team.
Now wait a minute here. Where's he playing on that fearsome foursome front 4? I mean, whose position is he taking?
Yeah.
All right, Jack. You said he can play on your team. Whose spot is he taking on that front 4?
He's going to come in after Merlin retired.
Am I right? Roger Brown was on that. Wasn't he on that defense too at one time?
No. Well, he was. Yes, he was. Earlier in the 60s. Early 60s. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm trying to figure, well, where the hell is Aaron playing? I mean,
yeah.
I don't know where he's playing on that front 4 there, man. I mean, there's a couple defensive player of the years, and I have to say Merlin Olsen's probably the greatest defensive tackle in the history of the National Football League. So I'm going to put that distinction in there. And you would also say this, the only thing that Deacon left the game with was a broken heart, because that dude could get around the corner, run that hula hoop, and there you are with 151 sacks. I don't know, Jack. Hey, Jack, finally here. You've got to really be excited when you see the fact that the Rams are back in Los Angeles and they're really where they need to be. No disrespect to St. Louis and not throwing any shade there. They did win a championship there, but it has to be great to see them back in Los Angeles and Southern California.
It really is, and it's going to be interesting to see how the public handles that new stadium. Will they like it or not? I mean, there hadn't been much going on there for the last year and a half with all this crap going on. But yeah, I'm glad they're there. Well, I got mad at them when they moved, of course, and then they started having a relationship with the retired players, and that relationship carried on when they moved back, and it got better actually. They had Kyle Eversgerd was in charge of that and did a tremendous job of keeping the retired players together. And they, when they moved back, you had to get, okay, that's fine and dandy. We're just glad you're back, back where you belong.
Hey, I got to show you something. So, as you know, my uncle's Robustelli. He was a Ram, and he did start his career as a Ram, and he was on one of them championship Ram teams.
Yeah, exactly. we had big shoes to fill.
Absolutely. Hey, Jack, it's always great catching up with you. Thank you so much for doing this, man. Thank you again. I appreciate it. Your friendship means a lot to me. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks, Dan.
Hall of Famer Jack Youngblood, one of the truly greatest players. Yeah, today I got an email from the National Football League archives, and they're now starting to put the process together where they're putting all the sacks pre-1982. In case you don't know, they did not count for whatever reason. The NFL players' sacks pre-1982, it wasn't really an official stat. So they started tracking it in 1982. But now what the league has done, they've gone back into all the archives and all the press releases and all the box scores, and somebody has systematically counted all these sacks. And Jack is sixth all-time on the list in NFL history with 151.5 quarterback sacks. And Deacon Jones is third with 173.5. You talk about a defensive line. You've got over 300 sacks just between two guys, not counting Merlin Olsen, too. We'll take a brief timeout. You keep it right here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome back to the National Football Show. Dan Sileo. Let me see here. 7 days to Cowboys show up to training camp. How you doing? Right? All good, man. Cannot wait. Great catching up with one of the greatest players of all time. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. 8-time Pro Bowler. Jack Youngblood. College Football Hall of Famer and NFL Hall of Famer. So the process was pretty much the same, and it's been the same, where you get to knock on the door, you get the phone call. So they pretty much have kept to that practice with all the players that go into that place. So nothing's really changed. We'll see how this whole ceremony is going to play out the week of the Hall of Fame. I can't wait. It's going to be Steelers and Cowboys, by the way, for the Hall of Fame game. They're at, I think it's Benson Stadium. I think that's what it's called. So it's going to be great. All right. You guys know who Greg Popovich is? Head coach of the Spurs. Team USA has lost for the first time back-to-back international games since they assembled the Dream Team back in the Barcelona games. Remember back in those days, and if you don't, they were beating teams like by 70 points. I mean, they were destroying teams. I mean, America was here and the rest of the world was over here. Okay? You could actually say, if you think of it in a soccer term, because soccer is the biggest sport in the world, America is here today, and the rest of the world is over here still. In basketball, that dimension is closed. As I mentioned when we opened up the show, take a look at what you have. The reigning MVP is a European player. Best defender in the game is a European player. The best young player in the game is a European player. The influence of the European athlete in basketball, you see it. So America and Team USA has lost to Nigeria and Australia in back-to-back games. Again, like I said, never happened. So what does Greg Popovich, the coach, do? He turns into Donald Trump. Here's a guy that blasts Donald Trump every single chance he gets, that he is a bully. He's a guy who talks down to people. He's a guy that doesn't have respect for people. This is what he said about the former president. It's funny. Every time I watch a Greg Popovich press conference, I see him do the same stuff. And, we just got through talking a little bit about Stephen A. Smith making comments. And if you're a liberal, you get really hall passes on almost saying anything you want, as long as you hate Trump. You see, this is what's giving Greg Popovich a hall pass. He thinks because he bashes Trump that he can kick your ass too and treat you like piss. So a reporter asked him a very honest question about his basketball team. The team has been poorly assembled. And it's been like slapped together, and they're getting beat. They're just not very good. And so Popovich goes, well, you're disrespecting. You used to beat Nigeria by 70 points. It's an honest question. What's wrong with the team? You're telling me we don't have enough NBA talent? We're playing with NBA. Know this. We're playing with NBA guys. We're not playing with college guys. If we were playing with college guys, Team USA would never even be in the conversation to even try to get a medal. By the way, do I think we're going to get a medal this summer? No way, not with that group. KD's on that team. And so when Popovich was asked the question, what did he do? He turned the mic around, started pissing all over the interviewer. He sounded like Donald Trump. Berating the guy, belittling the guy, told him to shut his mouth. All the things you used to see at the White House press briefings. Or standing outside as he got onto Air Force One. See, Popovich is a bully. And let me show you why he is past his prime as a coach. And I'll compare him to Belichick here in a second. Two of the most successful professional coaches in our time, right? Bill's got 6 championship rings in New England. I think Pop's got 5, right? Okay, let me show you the difference between these two dudes. So, Popovich is a guy that used to do this. Everybody, when they come to San Antonio, they leave their ego at the door. Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, All those guys know. David Robinson. Hey, man, everybody knows when you come here, you're going to play, and everybody knows their role. Everybody knows their role. Yeah, you know what you had in that locker room? The same thing that Belichick had in his locker room. You had a buffer. Tim Duncan was the buffer between the BS that Greg Popovich was spewing in the media about being a complete tool bag. It was Duncan going, hey, this is what he means. You ever notice since Duncan retired, the Spurs, they didn't even make the playoffs, right? You think the Spurs are the same franchise? Let me give you one better. So Greg Popovich had a guy on his basketball team that won a finals MVP. Helped lead his team to an NBA championship, the last one in Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard wanted nothing to do with Greg Popovich's ways because there was no Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker and Tim Duncan in that locker room anymore. He didn't want to hear his BS and his crap anymore. It wore off, and it wore out. Wanted nothing to do with it. Any coincidence that the Spurs are not watchable anymore? Any coincidence? Every time you watch a press conference with Greg Popovich, he sounds like, oh, dude, get off my lawn guy. He's not evolved. He got lucky. All those European players that they brought in to that organization, plus David Robinson, there was a culture set in the room by the players. This guy couldn't even convince. He's such a great coach. You got rid of Kawhi Leonard in his prime. Wait, not even getting in it. Kawhi's not in his prime. He's just now climbing into his prime. And what did he do? Once his little feelings got hurt that he couldn't keep Kawhi Leonard in the building, he sent him to another country. What did Kawhi do? He slammed it right back in his face and won an NBA Finals MVP and a championship for the Toronto Raptors. And there's Popovich not making the playoffs anymore. Someone goes, Silsy's got 5 times. I get it. George Seifert got 2 championships. I don't look at him as a great coach. I look at him having great players in the organization that carried the day. The San Antonio Spurs carried the day with their great talent. They won in spite of that guy because now he sounds like an old guy now, doesn't he? He sounds like he's an old dude every time he gets in front of the mic. He comes up with an excuse on why his teams aren't winning. San Antonio, Team USA, he's got an excuse a mile long now. And then he reverts back to Trump bashing. That works when you're winning NBA championships like Steve Kerr. You know, Kerr's standing, and he's standing in the NBA Finals, and he's going after Trump. That's one thing. You built equity up. His equity's out, man. This guy is past his prime. And let me tie that into Belichick. Let me show you what Bill's doing differently than what this guy's doing. As you could tell, I hate Popovich because his stupid stuff with the writings on the wall and all that crap, Hawks, that works for people for just a brief period of time. Danny, 1-5, I get it. I get it. But eventually, guess what? Even the great coaches, that messaging starts to wear out. So look at Belichick, what he's done. Oh, and by the way, what do you think the buffer was in New England all them years? It was Brady. No days off, guys. Brady coming in going, he means let's just keep working our asses off. You know, just keep working hard. It's not about yesterday. It's about tomorrow. Let's keep thinking about tomorrow, guys. Let's keep pushing for tomorrow. It was Brady's messaging in the locker room, talking to everyone in the locker room. And basically, hey, I'll use the Stephen A. Smith line. Just like Tim Duncan, Tom Brady was the interpreter inside the locker room for those coaches. You need an interpreter to interpret what these coaches and their plans are so that the players can understand it coming from a player. That's what Brady was. You notice the difference in New England with Belichick and how he talks, man, Cam Newton, what a great leader. Cam, it's a privilege to be around him. I really love it, man. He named him team captain. There wasn't an adversarial relationship like he has and like Popovich had with Kawhi Leonard. You know that last year that Kawhi was in San Antonio? He had some sort of like freaky injury, remember? It wasn't the fact that Kawhi, whether or not he could have played through those injuries, Kawhi didn't want to play for him through those injuries. There's people that you'll play for when you're hurt, and there's people you won't. And Popovich is that guy. Watch that press conference. A guy asked him a normal question, but they're becoming common now. It's becoming a common theme with the way Popovich handles himself in public now. Then he always reverts back to Trump bashing. That's old too. Guy's been out of the White House since January 20th. Okay? It's old news. Dude, move on. January 6th, move on. Okay, scoreboard. Even I know that. That's the beautiful thing about sports. There's a scoreboard. You see, in politics, the scoreboard's movable. They move the chains on you. That's why sports is the best, and that's why everybody reveres it. That's why you can get Republicans and Democrats in a stadium, and nobody cares what your political affiliation is. You're rooting for one thing. Steelers, Giants, Eagles, Packers, whatever. Nobody cares. You're rooting for one entity. Community pride, your team in that community. This guy misses it. He does. He's just completely, he misses it. He doesn't get it. This guy is an old school coach with old school ways that have become tiring to watch. All the things he does, he has become the Donald Trump of coaches. Great Popovich. You got Belichick trying to reinvent himself in New England. I'll give you another great example of a coach reinventing himself and how important that is. Popovich can't. He's not capable because he's stubborn. I mention this all the time to people. Don Shula did this. Don Shula only believed in running the ball. That's how he won those 3 AFC titles and those 2 Super Bowls. And one of those teams was undefeated. They ran the ball with Zonka, kick, and threw the ball marginally with Greasy and Warfield. By the way, both Hall of Famers. Almost that entire backfield was Hall of Fame. Okay? This is way back in the day. So all of a sudden, Dan Marino comes parachuting in. What did he do overnight? Changed the entire dynamic of his football team. Started throwing the ball 40 times a game. Everyone was like, what the hell is this? Here's a modern-day guy. Look at John Harbaugh. You want to show a coach who knows how to communicate with his players and also change to his personnel that he has on his team? This guy's got Joe Flacco in the building, who won him a Super Bowl. Ozzie Newsome, the former GM, they draft Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson gets drafted. Changes the entire offense the next year, and now they're that team. In the last 3 years, you wouldn't recognize the Ravens. Hey, Nick Saban too. Saban used to run the hell out of the ball, right? Derrick Henry threw the ball a little bit. Now you get every quarterback in the country wanting to play there. Now that kid Arch Manning is going to be taking a recruiting trip to Alabama to potentially play there in Tuscaloosa for Nick Saban instead of Ole Miss or Tennessee. It's crazy. Quarterbacks go to Alabama since when? Nobody does that. But they're evolving coaches, not Popovich. He's not capable because he doesn't want, because his arrogant ego doesn't allow him to be more of what's in tune with today. He's not going to kiss a player's ass where you have to today. And I don't mean you have to stroke a player, but you got to kind of kiss their ass. And you know what kissing their ass means? Just be a better communicator. You don't have to pet these guys on the head. You just tell them, hey, man, you know, you're my guy. And you just got to be honest with them. Look at that Spurs organization now. It's unrecognizable. And it's carried over to Team USA basketball. Since when? By the way, you're telling me that our American guys can't beat the world anymore? We're no longer that team, and that the world is caught up with us? Hey, there's a part of me that goes like this. That's great. Because the one thing David Stern, the former commissioner of the NBA, has done and has now successfully achieved it. Who would have? This guy's got to be just like up in heaven going, oh my God, it's happened. Nigeria beats Team USA. Australia beats Team USA. This is all the things the NBA was hoping to do. So you got to remember something with the NFL. What countries do you play football, American football in? Canada and America. You know, the NFL hasn't really stretched out. You know, they tell you that whatever you want to think, they play games over in London. What's that mean? Are you trying to tell me you think NFL football is as popular as Manchester United or the Premier League? Give me a break. You really think that? Well, again, that'd be the league giving you propaganda because that ain't true. You know that ain't true. Over 1 billion people watch the World Cup, and that Premier League is like the greatest league in the world in soccer. These guys make $50 million a year like Neymar and all them guys that play in that league. When you're somebody, you play in the Premier League. You think the Jaguars going over there? You think anybody really cares? Oh, great, American football. You're like, give me a break, dude. What are you doing on Wembley Stadium, too, by the way? Get the hell out of here. You know they probably look at that and go, why would you put that team where Manchester United play? Why would you even think about playing? Come on, man. Give me a break, right? So there's Pop still stuck in his stupid-ass ways in how he goes about his business. And it's great to watch him unravel because I hate that guy. All right. Let's take a brief time out and keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at IBEW98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome back, National Football Show, Dan Sileo. Love Bruce Arians. No risk it, no biscuit. He wins another Super Bowl. A couple Coach of the Year awards. Plus his 3 titles that he has as a coordinator in Pittsburgh. Got 5 championship rings. 2 as a head coach, Coach of the Year, potentially back-to-back Super Bowl champions, one of a handful of coaches that have gone back-to-back. I don't know. It's a debate. And plus, you know what you love about Bruce Arians? Look at Bruce Arians, how he looks at people. You know, we just got through talking about that idiot Greg Popovich and how he sees people and talks to people. Look at Bruce Arians, for instance. Every coordinator is a minority. He's got women on his coaching staff. The majority of his coaches are minorities. He is an equal opportunity employer. And what's great about Bruce, I've known him a long time. He interviews the character of the person. Not what you say about him, none of that. Bruce Arians wants his own assessment of you when you're sitting in front of him. If you waste this time, he'll blow you off in a minute, and he will be Greg Popovich to you. If you look him in the face and you're genuine, it's not so much about being honest. It's about being genuine. Bruce is going to try to carve out a path for you to show you how you can get to your goal. That's all you can ask. You know, I tell people this all the time. One of the most important lessons you can ever learn from a great leader is carving out the blueprint to success and how to get there. Man, I'll tell you, I know this as I'm older. Holy cow. Thank God I have people in my life that support me mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, everything. I've had people my whole life help me. But you know the one intangible they always see in me? I'm honest with them, and what I try to do is try to do the best I possibly can. Free lunch people, man, don't go anywhere in life. If you're looking for free lunches, it ain't happening. Everything comes with strings attached. And Bruce is a guy that gives everybody opportunity. This guy hires women, not stupid gigs. Like, I think part of the strength and conditioning coaching staff, one of them is a woman on there. Let me tell you how important that is. You know, usually the first hire that a head coach will have with either college or pro level is a strength and conditioning coach. Why is that? Because half the year, his players are in front of that guy. They're not in front of the wide receiver coach. They're in front of the strength and conditioning coach just as much as they're in front, actually probably more. One of the highest paid guys on the coaching staff every year is the strength and conditioning coach. They're some of the most important people you could possibly have on your staff. They're the guys that are around your players. They're the guys that are setting the culture for you. That's why they're important. So he didn't just give some gig to some woman just because, hey, we got a woman on our coach. It wasn't like that. Best person got the gig. That's what makes that staff. And I think, and I got to tell you something, don't you think that resonates with the players too? When you see how Bruce handles himself with his own personal coaching staff, and then how he talks to his players. If I'm not mistaken, I think, if I got the story right, I think when Bruce was a player at Virginia Tech, I think he roomed with Tiki Barber's dad, and it was the first interracial roommates there in Blacksburg. Then he gets the job, and guess where he goes? You know where he learned his craft? He was on the coaching staff with Bear Bryant at Alabama. And you know what Bear Bryant thought about African-American players on his team. He wanted them from the 50s, but you're not going to get black players to play at the University of Alabama in the 50s. Hell, you didn't have a black player on that team until Wilbur Jackson came in the early 70s. Then you had Sylvester Croom and all them guys started rolling in there. And it was because of Bear Bryant changing the room and telling everybody, got to change here. And the Southeastern Conference now is one of the greatest employers when it comes to minority opportunities at position coaches and for players to play in that league. Like I just got through talking about the Premier League. Well, the Premier League in America is the Southeastern Conference. It's the preeminent sports league when it comes to college sports. Care what you say. You got one of the top programs in basketball in the country in Kentucky. You clearly got the best college football program in the country. And hell, at times, it could be LSU, it could be Florida, but it's mostly Alabama. And he learned his craft there under one of the legendary coaches in Coach Bryant. I so root for that. You know, I really do. I so root for that. All right. You know, I mentioned this in the first hour. Tonight, you're going to be watching the All-Star game, or at least I'm going to be watching the All-Star game. You know what's funny? When I was a kid watching that All-Star game, because we didn't have interleague play, and interleague play is kind of like, you know, destroyed the novelty of seeing the American League and National League playing against one another. Because, you know, for years, if you were an American League or National League team, you never played each other until you got to the World Series. You didn't see these guys, like you would never see Shohei Ohtani rolling into Shea Stadium. You would never see Ohtani going into St. Louis. That wasn't ever going to happen. The only way you saw that was All-Star game or if you saw him in the World Series. So interleague play has kind of like, and I really don't even know if interleague play has helped brand the league. I'm not even sure that it has, right? Because the All-Star game doesn't really get the numbers, nor does it get the competitive edge that it used to have when all those players used to show up and truly want to win. But make no mistake about it. Here, you know, we mentioned LeBron James and we mentioned Tom Brady being so mobile. They made it fashionable to do this and look at organizations. Well, Aaron Rodgers is now doing it as well. If you're not going to put a team around me, I'm not staying here. I'm not wasting the prime years of my career to sit here and have you just take advantage of me and not do anything when it comes to winning. Let me give you an example with Ohtani. Ohtani plays on the same team with Mike Trout. Mike Trout. Some of you probably are out there going, who's Mike Trout? Who's Mike Trout? Right. That's the Angels and baseball's fault. If you're Ohtani, why in the world would I want to stay in an organization for over a decade? Couldn't do anything with Mike Trout. Mike Trout's numbers right now are dictating he's a Hall of Fame player. And get this, you know what Mike Trout says? I love the fact Ohtani's getting all the attention because I really don't like it. Not a very good salesman of your sport, is it? Not a very good salesman. Baseball has a guy who you could actually promote is better than Babe Ruth. He's simultaneously doing things that Babe did early in his career in Boston. Babe never pitched, but a few times in New York when he went to the Yankees and was sold to the Yankees. I heard John Smoltz say if he concentrated just on being a pitcher in baseball, John Smoltz is convinced he'd be the best arm in the game of baseball today. But how could you take that insane power out of his hands and out of your lineup? Well, how about this? If Shohei Ohtani had 33 home runs for the season, I'd still consider him for the MVP. He's got 33 home runs at the break. I've never seen anything like this. Why would you keep that guy in Los Angeles? He's not playing for the Dodgers. This guy's playing for the Angels, who I can't even remember the last time they were in the postseason. I mean, I don't think I think Mike Trout's got like a 212 average or something. I think he's been in just like one or twice or something like that. What a shame. If you're Ohtani's people, get the hell out of the Angels camp, man, because they are not helping you. All right. Want to thank our guests. Want to thank Krause and Cal. Great work you guys do. Big Joe. If you missed any of the show, do me a favor. Please go over to the JAKIB Media channel. You can catch any part of the show. Like it, share it, watch it a little bit later on. We so appreciate it. Till tomorrow, 4 to 6 Eastern, we shall see you